Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm doing a pretty fun video. This is a Prowler showcase in Battlegrounds. I got Prowler from a couple crystals, I got very lucky, and I was going to grind him from Arena anyway because I think he's really cool. But I got very lucky and managed to get a head start on making this video. So, got a bunch of BG's matches for you today, a lot of meta defenders. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about how much Prowler can take. I'm going to treat this as a bit of a guide as well, so I'll be explaining his abilities and why I'm doing what I'm doing as I'm going. So hopefully you get an idea of how to play Prowler during this video. Prowler has a few things going on, but ultimately you can distill his BG's rotation down to basically three things. I'll quickly explain those three things and then we'll jump into a pretty vanilla matchup. So the first thing is an Incinerate. You get that Incinerate by heavy attacking an opponent with 0 power. So you can do that at the start of the fight, or you can do that after they throw a special. When Prowler's opponent throws a special, they are power drained the remainder of their power, so you want to push them to 1.9 bars of power, then they drain all the way to 0, and you get charges based on how much power you drained. So if you drain the 1 full bar, that will be 30 charges. So just under 1 bar will be 29 charges. You have a max of 30, and when you throw a special, you convert all those charges into Furies. The last thing you want to do is you want to line up your special 2 with the Falter, which is applied by your double medium. During this Falter, you get an increased crit rate, which we'll go into more in detail on why that's good later. So 3 things: get the Incinerate up, drain the opponent's power, throw an SB2 during the Falter. That's kind of what you're looking for. So as we go into this fight with the Gorr, I'll just walk you through what we're doing. So I'm going to start off by getting a parry in. He's on 0 power, so we apply all the Incinerates, and now I'm just going to try and get him to 1.9 bars of power. Relics being available early in BGs really helps with this, so you'll see we use the Relic, and then I'm just going to leave him just below 2 bars of power. He gets power drained the remainder, and now I'm going to push up to my L2. So we go for an Incept, we go for our Falter, and I just medium, go into my special 2, and this is, almost a perfect damage rotation from him. So the reason that we want the Falter up is because we want to crit, but Prowler can't crit naturally. He's another one of those tech champions that don't crit. He applies short duration ruptures that you'll see during those fights. During his special 2, you will refresh and pause all of the ruptures, so anytime you've crit or crit during the special, those ruptures add up and they all tick and they stay paused and they do some nice damage. The reason we want the Incinerate up is anytime one of your ruptures expires, it does a big burst of physical damage. And then finally, the reason we want all of those charges is that the more we power drain him, the closer we get to 30. When we throw our special, you convert all those charges into Fury passives, and that further compounds the damage that you're doing. So it's all a case of lining up those 3 things. And as you practice him more and more, it gets a lot simpler, trust me. So if you watch another match where I do this rotation, you'll see what I mean in a bit more detail. So this is a rank 2 Chavez. She's quite annoying, as we all know, but we're going to start off with a parry heavy, and then we're going to go in for an Incept, sidestep her there, and I'm just going to try and push her as far as I can. So again, we go for the Relic. I'm just going to tap her a couple times there, bait out this special. She throws it there. We're up to 27 charges, as you can see on the top left, and now I just need to get to my special 2. So we've saved our Falter here, and we're ready to go for our medium, go for the special. You see the ruptures pause, you see the Incinerates up, and as the ruptures expire, we do a nice chunk of damage against her, and we take her down. Another thing you'll notice when the opponent throws a special is that they get power locked. And this is a short passive power lock. It has one main intention, but it has some additional benefits. So the main intention is that it means that you can medium, and then that'll falter them. Then you can throw a heavy straight away, and they will be on 0 power because they've just been power drained. The medium is during the power lock, so they're still on 0 power, and it means it's just a really free way to get your Incinerate up. The power lock is additionally good because whenever you punish an opponent, they're still power locked. so they gain no power, but that also means that whenever you're facing a mystic opponent, and if you dex during the special, when you punish them and that dex buff expires, it's during the power lock, and Prowler is a pretty good counter to most mystics because of that. It means he can control the fight a lot better. And specifically for someone like Chavez, if she opened one of her dimensions and she throws a special, she gains a burst of power, but the power lock stops that. So he's actually a pretty good Chavez counter. Even if she starts throwing some heavies, like Chavez does, Prowler can still control it pretty well. But as I said, the main intention to use this power lock is to medium, and heavy, and that can be really useful sometimes. This next rotation that we're going to go into against a rank 2 Korg, you'll see me use the medium, heavy, because I can't get a parry heavy off at the start of the match because Korg might purify my parry. So as we're going into this fight, let's go through why Prowler's a good Korg counter. So Prowler, the main thing is that Prowler has non-contact mediums. It means we can hit Korg's rock stacks without taking any thorns damage back. As you see there, nothing. So it's really good. He's a very good Korg counter, pretty much purely for that reason. Though Korg does have some critical resistance, and Prowler has increased crit rate during his falter, so he can get around that a little bit. So you'll see me here do what I mentioned before. We bait out the special, we have our falter, we medium, he misses, and we go for a heavy. And then we apply the incinerate that way. So because we can't get it at the start of the match, it's not a bad way to get it. When the opponent misses you during your falter, it does go on a cooldown, so you do have to watch that. However, if you use the special 1 rotation, as we did here, it means that we can get the falter back pretty much as soon as we need it with the special 2. And as these ruptures explode and we go for a combo, yeah, it's not a bad 50-second takedown. This was a little bit earlier in when I was playing Prowler, and I went for the special 1 rotation because that was my initial understanding. Since then, I've realised that the special 2 is probably better. But just bear in mind that if you are using that rotation against Korg and you put your falter on cooldown, you might have to wait 5 seconds or so for the falter to come back in order for you to line everything up again. So next up, we're going to go for a big old rank 2 Sassy, and then we're going to go into a bit of a utility section. But for now, let's take on Sasquatch. So I think this matchup is probably a bit better than your average one. I've only done this fight once. It came up in in the victory track when I was doing it, and it just went really well. I'd want to test it more, but I've spent a lot of time making this showcase and I haven't had time to go and retest every single one. So just take this one with a pinch of salt. I don't know if this is like the perfect matchup, and everything went really well, but it went very well. So we'll see in future if Prowler does become a really consistent option for Sasquatch, but yeah, this one went quite well, and I even had a bit more range on it. So we've gone for the first rotation, and it's not killed. However, we let Sasquatch throw the special. Here, I should have heavy countered that and have reapplied my Incinerate. As you can see, it's just about to fall off. Sassy goes into Wrath at the perfect time. We throw our special 2. The ruptures tick down and take him down, but you'll notice that the Incinerate had dropped off, so even if this was a rank 3, that burst afterwards would probably have killed the rank 3. But the reason I say that this might be the perfect matchup, and it may not be that case every time, is Wrath lined up pretty well. Having said that, if Sasquatch does go into Wrath, remember that Prowler power drains the opponent after they throw a special, so Sasquatch will only throw 1 special in Wrath, and then he's power drained to 0. You do have to deal with the Unstoppable, but I think he's a pretty good option, and I'm looking forward to testing it more. So next up, we're going a bit more into the utility section, and starting off with what I think is Prowler's most important role in a BG deck as a Domino counter. I think he might be the best Domino counter in the game. He is so good. He has extra ability accuracy, so Domino can't fail his things. He counters evade on his mediums, and after he throws his special 1, he gains a passive that will let him counter evade fully. So as we throw the special 1, you see the top left pursuit passive. It means that we can just completely ignore evade. So he's very, very good. He also is bleed immune, so if you did get caught, you won't get punished as much. And, he's good enough to get consistent, very good BG scores. As you see here, where our falter is about to come back, we can go in for a combo, go in for a special 2, and this just finishes her off. I think it's probably possible to get a little bit of a faster score here if you went straight to special 2. However, you're losing a bit of safety there because only your mediums counter evade. If you want to roll a dice and try and get lucky, no pun intended, you might be able to get faster time, but I'd probably recommend going for the special 1 just to stay safe. Next up, we have a rank 2 Killmonger. Prowler's pretty good for him for the same reasons he's good for Korg, really. You get medium non-contact hits means no reverb damage. Prowler doesn't crit, so it means that if you are taking reverb damage, it's on average going to be less. He also has the increased crit rate to get around critical resistance. The other thing is that because of the power drain, it makes it actually really simple to control reverberation. So if you bait out a special just before reverb is going to come back, it means that Killmonger is going to be on 0 power, and you can time it very nicely with getting him to have no reverb damage. But that increased crit rate comes in very handy there, as the special 2 just nukes him down, they all explode, and Killmonger down in 42 seconds is not bad. That's a pretty consistent one. I get it around 50 to 55 seconds most of the time. He's a very, very good Killmonger counter. Next up is Bullseye, and Prowler isn't as good a Bullseye counter as I was hoping for. He's still pretty good, and he's one that if you don't have another option for, Prowler's gonna work, he's gonna get him down. The issue is it's quite RNG based. So Bullseye's SIG has a 50% chance at SIG 200 to shrug off your Incinerate debuff, which means you lose out on a fair chunk of damage. So as you see there, he purifies the first one. However, as you can see, even if we don't get lucky first time, we can use our mediums that can't be evaded, and we can get him up to 1.9 bars of power and drain him right back down to 0. So we've basically dealt with 2 bars of power with one special. We get a little bit lucky here, or well, 50-50, and the Incinerate sticks. So I'm just going to go for another double medium and keep our falter up, go for the special 2, and we chunk him down a little bit. And now we can keep on doing our double mediums to avoid the killer instinct. We're just going to try and get him down the rest of the way here with a special 1, which allows us to avoid evade entirely, and this last combo and relic does finish him off. So this was probably a slightly better than average attempt. Most of the time, he feels like Bullseye is just shrugging off your Incinerates, and it can get very frustrating. You basically have 3 opportunities probably to get a heavy attack, one at the start of the fight, one after both of the specials that he's going to throw. If you don't get the Incinerate up, it's going to be a fairly slow match. The positive is that you are still going to get a decent score, and it might win you a fight if you've got a really good defender. But yeah, he's serviceable as a Bullseye counter. He's not perfect. What I will say though is that as the meta progresses and we start to see more 7 stars, they'll have low SIGs, and Bullseye will be better against a rank 2 7-star than a ascended 6-star for that reason. So bear that in mind, he's pretty good for a Bullseye. Moving on, we've got Attuma, and this is another non-contact medium counter. He's alright for Attuma, he's pretty good. You'll avoid a lot of damage if you just medium, and also applying Incinerates to Attuma is good as well. So the main thing is balancing whether you want to do medium or whether you want to do medium, and it can be a little bit difficult to build up your charges in this fight because you're either taking hits on block, which is damage, or you're just baiting out a special when he gets it, in which case you're not getting quite as many charges. However, if you get a little bit lucky and you can use the relic again, you can push him to close to 2 bars of power and then mostly take him down. We get a heavy counter there to get our Incinerate up, and then we just wait for our falter to come back, go for a medium, and go for the special 2. So this was an unascended Attuma. However, the burst doesn't even fully kill him. If he throws a special there, we go in for a combo and he dies there. So I don't think that's a unreliable matchup. I think it's pretty good. That was a pretty good score for an Attuma as well. If you get caught without a counter, you can end up taking a lot more damage than that. So it's not bad at all. And outside of this meta, I'd probably start off with a heavy attack at the start of the fight, just bait a heavy from him, and that will give you your Incinerate up earlier and you'll do a bit more damage. And next up, again, similar to Attuma, we've got an Electro, so again, I'm just going to be double mediuming. You will take a bit of damage in this fight, purely because your special 2 is contact, and you'll take just a little bit of reverb damage from that. You'll see at the start of the fight, I kind of go a little bit medium, light, medium. Sometimes I'm okay taking kind of chip damage a little bit. And then we're just going to go back to medium, medium here. Our falter comes back and you see us throw the special 2, take a little bit of damage back from that, but the ruptures take him down, and 50k against Electro is pretty good. Only losing that much health is not too bad at all. So next up we have a rank 3 Kindred, and just one thing that I'm going to pull your attention to is that remember that there are crits through block on this meta, and unfortunately we get some pretty bad RNG with him critting through our block from his special 1s. So I've worked out that, or I've had a look, and I should probably finish this fight on about 85% health. You'll see why towards the end, but just bear that in mind. We take more damage than usual just through block from those crits. So Prowler is pretty good for Kindred. He's not perfect. Kindred's Incinerate immune, so we're losing out on a bit of damage there. But the non-contact mediums means that Kindred charges don't ramp quite as fast, and you can sometimes use the falter to actually get a punish in. We got that at the start. The main thing really is just you want to throw your SP2 when you're at 2.9 bars of power, so that when we come out of this here, we're in our route, but Kindred can't hit us because we're faltering him. And it means that you can get your 1 medium in, you get up to the special 1, and you throw it straight away and take him down. I think against a rank 2 or an ascended 6-star, we also probably get there before Outbreak even affects us, so we probably don't get degened quite as much. So he's pretty good for Kindred. Not amazing, but I thought it was quite a cool fight to share, and yeah, I just wanted to include it. Next up we have Storm X, so this is just, you know, she's not exactly a meta defender, but she can be pretty annoying, so Prowler counters her pretty well. Anytime she throws a special, she's going to get power drained, and she's going to remove her Tempests. Just if an opponent ever tries to catch you out with a Storm X, she can be quite annoying sometimes, so yeah, Prowler's an option for her. We're going to rush straight to the SP2 on this one, and one thing that I haven't mentioned just yet is that the falter will make the opponent more aggressive. So on a special that is quite easy to deck, so that I know that it's not gonna, I know that it's not gonna make me miss and therefore put the falter on cooldown, I will sometimes end in mediums to make the opponent more aggressive towards me, more likely to throw a special. And yeah, this is pretty much just a nuke match. That's quite a fun one. Most of the time I don't want to end with mediums when I'm pushing up to special 2, just in case I do accidentally put that falter on cooldown. It's not something that you want to be waiting around for, so I'll either not finish the combo or I'll end in a light. Next up is Dust, and I don't know her specials as well, so that's a reason that I'm not going to end with mediums here and try to make her more aggressive. I'm just going to bait it out normally. But yeah, we can go for a striker, we can go for another couple hits, and now bait out a special when she's just below 2 bars of power, so we're pretty much max ramped straight away. So the thing with this rushing to special 2 is that if the opponent is a little bit annoying and lets your Incinerate drop off, you are able to reapply it, and if you don't want to reapply it using the falter, then I would suggest waiting until the special animation's over, either heavy countering or dashing back and just parrying, heavying. You can do that as well, it won't give them power, so you can still apply it. And I'd only do this if it was on 30 charges, which means that my special would be unblockable. You can go medium into heavy and then throw your special 2 once the Incinerate is applied. It's a pretty neat trick to line everything up if you don't have much space to work with. So next up we have Nightcrawler. He is, mark my words, about to become a really annoying meta defender, and Prowler is already the perfect counter. He counters evade with his mediums and special 1, as we've mentioned before. I'm just going to parry. I'm going to light attack during the parry stun and then medium attack out of it. I'm fine triggering my falter straight away because I know that it's going to come back in time for my special 2. I throw my special 1 here and we go for a combo. We're completely countering his evade, go for a relic, and now my falter's back. I've got plenty of time to rush to my special 2. And I don't know if you've noticed it, but I certainly hadn't. I only noticed this when I was watching it back. I haven't even gone for my Incinerate, and we are just completely nuking this guy. We've taken him down in about 40 seconds, and I didn't apply my Incinerate. What I would have done is, after he threw his first special 1, I would have gone for a parry heavy. We already had our evade counter up, so he wasn't going to evade out of it. But yeah, it just shows the damage that Prowler can do even without that Incinerate. And in a segue so smooth, it's almost like I planned it. What happens when you can't apply your Incinerate if you were facing a defender like Bishop or Havok? The answer is just don't apply it. He has pretty good damage. So this match with Bishop here, I actually disconnected and had to come back in and try again. So there's only a minute left on the clock. Trust me, this only takes 39 seconds, so it's fine. But yeah, we're not gonna use our Incinerate because that would be bad. You don't want to apply Incinerate to Bishop. So I'm baiting out the special 1. Prowler is Incinerate immune, so we don't need to worry about that. One thing that I've now actually realized about Bishop that I hadn't realized before is that with the way he retains power after throwing a special, you don't actually need to bait out a special at 1.9 bars of power. Bishop still has a full bar or 2 full bars of power after he throws it. If you go back and just check that special 2 when he throws it, we already got our full 30, even though he was only just over 2 bars of power. We power drain him fully, we get all of our charges, so you can just bait out a special whenever you want against Bishop. It's a pretty cool match. And next up we've got Havok. So again, we don't want to be applying the Incinerate. He's Incinerate immune, so there's no point. So I'm just going to be playing Havok like a normal champ. I want to push him to special 2 because although Prowler doesn't crit, so we don't give him plasma charges that way, he doesn't have an armor up buff, so if we did get a plasma detonation, that wouldn't be too good. I did have one of these matches where I tested it, and Havok did throw his special 1, and we only got to like 5 or 6 plasmas on ourselves. So if it did happen, it's not the end of the world. You don't need to it's not going to be a death sentence. It's probably not even going to detonate as long as you keep baiting heavies and ideally a special 2. You will still be able to control it even if he does throw a special 1. However, yeah, that's a pretty fast fight. Havok can cause problems for some champions, but it's nice that Prowler is an option. And for the next example of a champion that you're not supposed to apply Incinerate to, Onslaught. So Prowler doesn't crit, so you get fewer neuros, and just bear in mind that I actually had neuros on 25% of my hits here, and it's only supposed to be 15, so bear in mind that we probably should end this fight a little bit healthier than we do. I just unfortunately get some bad RNG. You can also use the Crush to heal back up. Prowler is metal, so that means that we're not going to be able to dash back and remove the neuros. What you can see though is that they're not doing that much damage. They do add up and they do tick you down. We've got more than average, like I said. But yeah, it's not awful. It's a pretty good matchup. But what we are going to do is we're going to bait out a heavy, and I'm going to heavy counter, and I'm going to apply the Incinerate, and I'm going to go for my special 2. I know that you're not really supposed to use an Incinerate against Onslaught, but in my opinion, if you gamble and you kill him with the special 2, which is pretty likely, it's not that big a deal. You still end up with quite a lot of health at the end. That's a pretty good Onslaught score. And when I did matchups practicing where I didn't use the heavy, it ended up not that good overall. It was a lower score. You take longer because you don't have the extra burst damage. I would probably recommend going for that heavy counter. It's a little bit difficult in this meta with the unblockable, which happens when you deck specials, but in general, I'd probably go for that heavy, especially if you're punching down. So next up, and this is the last kind of fight of the utility section. After this, we're going to go for just a few nukey fights, few fun fights, but this is an Ebony Maw. So Prowler is immune to Falter, and that is some really nice utility. It's mainly useful questing, because not as many champions, especially in BGs, not many of the meta ones apply Falter, but Maw does, and Prowler's pretty good for it. You do need to watch out for the nullification, so I tend to go for a special one to keep him throwing specials without me having to dex and then bait it. Because you're immune to Falter, you don't need to worry about knocking down Maw. The only reason I'm doing it there, or a little bit earlier, was because I wanted to reapply my Incinerate. But you're going to see in a second, Maw gets to 20 charges on us, and we're immune to the Falter. Just doesn't apply. So as long as you avoid getting nullified from the special one, yeah, it's not a bad matchup. I'd probably say it's one that you can rely on if you don't have a better science option. He's not perfect for it, especially in BGs, because you will take that degen damage if you do dex or if he throws 2 special ones in a row. But yeah, Prowler's pretty good for it. You also, if you're power draining him after a special one, you have to deal with fewer specials, because obviously if you're baiting 1.9 bars of power, that's basically 2 bars. Yeah, he's pretty good for it. I do it if I needed to, but I wouldn't pick him specifically as a Maw counter, you know? And next up we have Wolverine Weapon X. Prowler is pretty fun for this fight, so you're going to want to start off with a heavy, and then you're going to want to try and push him high. This again was early in my Prowler playing career, so I don't push him high enough on either of these special baits. You know, we got 2 charges there. I should have carried on hitting him. I should have gone a little bit further. Now I'm trying to bait out a heavy. If you kind of hover near Wolverine Weapon X, he usually goes for it. He left that one a bit late, but he does usually go for it. Here, I should really have done a full combo and then Relic and then pushed him a little bit higher. We're only on 18, could have been higher, could have been on 30. But as you're going to see, with class advantage, with the damage that Prowler has, this is just enough. And that was a pretty good nuke for a champion that was just over half ramped. I was pretty happy with that one. And next up we've got Red Skull. So Red Skull is a pretty annoying meta defender right now. There aren't a ton of options, and I've seen him stall out a lot of champions. But when you've got the crit rate and just damage of Prowler, he works really well. So we're going to go for a heavy to start off the match as usual, and now I'm going to try and push him as high as possible. So we go for another combo, go for the Relic, and then leave him just below 2 bars of power. Going to bait out this, and then to waste the time of the auto block, and I guess to keep up the Incinerate as well, we're just going to heavy counter. It means that we can go for it, heavy counter, waste time, and now we can go for a special 2. And again, it does a nice chunk of damage. I'm just going to push him a little bit higher again, bait out this special once more, heavy again, and then when we repower him, by the time he comes back in, the auto block is gone again. Then we can just go for a combo, go for a Relic, and take him down. And this was a rank 2, so we're obviously punching up a little bit. Yeah, no, he's a really good option for Red Skull, I think, and I'm happy that he works so well. Next up, we are going to go for Werewolf by Night. Werewolf can be a tough defender sometimes, especially when you end up without a counter. He can do annoying damage, he can go unblockable, unstoppable, all around be a pain. But he does take increased physical damage. He's got negative physical resistance. So all of those ruptures and all those rupture bursts are really taking him down. So if we just get to a special 2 and we nuke him, we can just take him down. So yeah, we get to a special 2, we pause all of our ruptures and they explode. One more combo, one more Relic, and he goes down. Very, very quickly. And yeah, no, I'm very happy with that one. And then the final match today in this showcase is an Absorbing Man. You do kind of need to balance the forms here. You basically want to throw special 2 when he's not got either of his forms up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push him up to 1.9 bars of power. He's going to power drain himself, so he's on 0. Mystic Dispersion isn't an issue. I'm going to go for a heavy, and then I'm just going to rush up to my special 2 before he can throw his special. And we get there, it lines up perfectly. We hold block afterwards so that he doesn't throw his special. The falter's still up, and then we go for a relic, and the fight's over. That's a really nice thing you can do, is because you have a falter up during your special, you can just kind of hold block afterwards and carry on, and it's really nice to close out fights if you don't want them throwing an annoying special or wasting time or whatever. But that will conclude the showcase. Prowler is cool. He has a lot of damage, a lot of range, a lot of utility. I think he's a very potentially important champion to have in your BG's deck. I don't think he's vital, but I think the value he brings on his base just as a Domino counter, and then to take some of the meta defenders like Korg and Killmonger very reliably, I think he's got timeless value personally, and he's kind of gone under the radar at the moment, and I think he deserves a little bit more attention. I am slightly worried about him in the medium term future, because as a 7-star his SIG scales horrifically, so I would really recommend investing in your 6-stars if you have them. The SIG increases the crit rating that you get while faltered, and that is quite important for how much damage he does. I'll be interested to see how a low SIG 7-star does perform, but in the meantime I think I'd focus on a 6-star. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe a SIG 27-star at rank 3 does have enough reach to do exactly the same things a 6-star Ascended is doing. Maybe it has reach to do more. I'm interested to see, but that's just my initial take on it. As a 6-star, he does want to be awakened, and he does want the SIG, so he's worth investing in, worth ascending, worth SIGing up. But yeah, overall, very fun champion. I really like him. He's my favourite one to come out this year, no questions. And I'm looking forward to doing more cool stuff with him. Let me know if you want a war showcase. I've got a couple of off-season fights. I'm going to try and get him assigned during the season. I think he can do some really cool things on the map, and I'm sure he's going to continue doing really cool things in BGs. But yeah, please like, comment, share this around. I'm really happy with how this one went. I've been working on this alongside an Adam Warlock and Danny Moonstar showcase, so keep an eye out for those two. There's some pretty wild fights in both. And yeah, thanks very much for watching. I appreciate everyone, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.